Ever wonder how pollsters can predict an entire election by talking to just 1,000 people? It seems kind of crazy, right? But the secret is a super powerful tool called sampling. It's all about learning about a massive group by studying just a tiny, well-chosen piece of it. And we're going to break down exactly how it works. Okay, let's play a game. Imagine your job is to find out the favorite type of music for every single person in your city. I mean, where would you even start? It sounds pretty much impossible, doesn't it?
Well, you're right. You would not go and talk to everyone. That would take forever. The smart move, the only move, is to find a smaller group of people who are basically a mini version of your whole city. And that idea right there is the heart and soul of sampling.
So this idea of a mini version is what we're talking about. But in the world of research, we've got some official terms for it, and getting these down is the first step to doing it right. It really just boils down to two big ideas. First, you have the population. That's the entire group you're curious about, every single child in the city, for example. Then you have the sample. That's the smaller, more manageable group you actually go out and talk to. And here's the magic. If you pick that sample the right way, it can tell you an incredibly accurate story about the entire population. So you might be asking, why go through all this trouble? Why not just talk to whoever's around? Well, it turns out that doing proper sampling isn't just about being nerdy and accurate. It has some huge, real-world benefits. Honestly, good sampling is a total triple win. First, it saves you a ridiculous amount of time. Second, it saves resources. We're talking money, people, you name it. And third, and this is the one that might surprise you, it can actually make your findings more accurate. Think about it. Instead of getting sloppy data from millions, you can focus on getting really high-quality info from a smaller, well-chosen group. But, and this is a really big but, there's a catch. All those awesome benefits we just talked about, they completely disappear if your sample isn't a true reflection of the population. If your sample is off, your results will be off. It's not just about picking any group of people. It's all about how you pick them.
Okay, so if the how is so critical, what are our options? Well, researchers have come up with a few different ways to do this, and each one has its own special strengths.
First up, we've got the gold standard, random sampling. This is as fair as it gets. It means every single person in your population has an absolutely equal chance of being chosen. You know, like putting everyone's name from a school into a giant hat and just pulling out 50 names. No system, no favorites, just pure random chance. Then you've got systematic sampling. This one's a bit more structured. Instead of being totally random, you pick people at a regular interval. So for example, you might decide to interview every 5th person who walks into the building. It's still randomish, but there's a clear system to it. Now, stratified sampling is really cool and super useful when you want to compare different groups. First, you divide your whole population into important subgroups, like boys and girls, or freshmen and seniors. Then, you take a random sample from inside each of those groups. This guarantees you get a good mix and can actually compare them. And finally, there's convenience sampling. This is pretty much what it sounds like. It's the I need answers like now method. You just survey people who are easy to get to, like the kids in your own classroom. It's fast, for sure, but there's a massive trade-off. Your sample almost certainly doesn't represent the whole population, so you have to be so careful with your conclusions. So, if we pull back and look at all four, you can see how they fit different needs, right? Random sampling is your go-to for maximum fairness. Systematic gives you a structured way to pick. Stratified is perfect when you need to compare specific groups. And convenience is for when you're in a real hurry. The main takeaway here is that there's no single best way. It all depends on what you're trying to figure out. All right, that's enough theory. Let's make this real. Let's see how you'd actually use these methods to answer a research question. So imagine this is our project. We want to know if being physically active affects how happy kids between 9 and 11 are. Now, our population is every single kid in that age range. We can't talk to all of them, obviously, so boom, right away we know we need to draw a sample. So which tool do we pull out of our toolbox? Well, if we want the most unbiased, fair results possible, we'd go with random sampling. But what if we specifically want to compare super active kids to kids who are less active? Then stratified sampling would be perfect. And hey, what if we only have access to one school? We might have to use convenience sampling. But, and this is huge, we'd have to be super honest about it and say, hey, these results might only be true for this one school. That transparency is everything. Okay, so we've picked our method, we're ready to go, right? not quite. There are two final, absolutely critical pieces of the puzzle we have to talk about: how big your sample needs to be, and how to dodge the #1 enemy of all research: bias. This is the question everybody asks. Is it 10 people? 100? 1,000? What is the magic number? Look, there's no single number that works for every study in the world, but a really good rule of thumb, especially for smaller projects like something you do for school, is somewhere between 20 and 50 people. That's usually big enough to start seeing patterns, but small enough that you can actually manage it. But you know what? Even more important than the exact size is avoiding the biggest danger of all: sampling bias. This is the fatal flaw. It's what happens when the group you chose just doesn't look like the bigger population you're trying to understand, and it can make your results completely worthless. The difference is night and day. A representative sample is like a perfect little miniature of your population. It has a mix of everyone. A biased sample, on the other hand, is totally lopsided. For example, if you're studying physical activity, but you only talk to kids on the school sports teams, of course your results are going to be skewed. You've totally ignored everyone else. And this bias can sneak in everywhere. Only picking kids from one neighborhood, that's bias. Only talking to the athletes, bias. Even just asking for volunteers can create bias, because the people who volunteer are often different from the people who don't. Your whole goal is to be really deliberate about giving everyone a fair shot. So when you step back and look at the whole thing, you see that sampling isn't just some boring technical step you have to get through. It's actually a research superpower. It's the one tool that lets us understand millions of people by just talking to a few hundred. It lets us find big truths in small, manageable pieces of the world. In the end, good sampling is all about being thoughtful. It's about picking the right method, getting a decent sample size, and more than anything, fighting against bias. If you can do that, you can do powerful, trustworthy research.